some Sting reference there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Motor City Metric Podcast, the 2025 Detroit Tigers season preview. As the Tigers did not play today, but they will be playing next Thursday, starting at 10 o'clock against the Dodgers. I am Roy Helicus. Alongside me is my esteemed panel of baseball folks. Ashley, fresh back from Arizona again. Hello, Ashley.
Hello.
Mike, of course, watching Missouri, and so Mike might be distracted as it is the March Madness.
Mike could be a little terse tonight.
Yeah.
No, I'll be fine. I need something to distract me. This is miserable right now, let me tell you.
Yeah. Uper and Chris, and Michigan starts at 10 o'clock as Michigan got the shaft on even though they won the tournament. It's
true.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is just, by the way, I did my bracket this year, and I'm not gonna lie, I did autopilot because that's cool that you can do that now. So we're going to be talking about our comment. So tonight's buzzwords, according to Deadly Ninja Bees, is shape, nutrition, and chef's kiss. So there we go. I like that. So plenty to get to though. As like I said, we're going to do our season predictions, our over-unders. Just to kind of tease a little bit here, I did. There's Chris Brown's. But there's everybody else's. They'll be coming up here shortly as well. But anyway, just to tease the audience a little bit. But so the Tigers is again. It's just it's weird that just about it seems like spring training went like that, just kind of like that. But before we start talking about spring training, Ashley, how did it go in Arizona? What did you learn? And are you now one step closer to baseball wizardry?
Arizona was great. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Tyrone Brooks and MLB, I have to thank for that. He chose me to go out there, and the Diversity Pipeline program sponsored me, so that was great. Tyrone is a gem of a man. So we kind of started the week out with team visits. So we would go and visit a team at their spring training complex. We'd see a panel of like 5 to 10 people who did various jobs. A lot of it was like R&D. A lot of it was biometric stuff. But there were some scouting people in there. There were some there were analysts in there, all different kinds of things. And we got to kind of ask them, whatever we wanted to ask them. Do a little bit of networking, and then we had the conference days after that. Conference was 3 days long. Made me realize I was, they say like if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I was in the correct room because I was the dumbest person in the room.
Well, that's the point, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but they had like 16-year-olds doing equations up on the PowerPoint that would have made me cry.
Wow. What's going to happen to them? They're going to get jobs in baseball or finance or something like that. And when they're 40, they're going to be like, I wish I would have done something else.
Yeah. Well, it definitely made me realize I thought I loved analytics, and I do. I love looking at metrics. I love analytics, but I don't think I would want it to be my whole job. I didn't realize, I think it's different organization to organization, but I didn't realize really how much coding you need to know. I did just get a data camp membership, so I'm attempting to learn a little bit of SQL, a little bit of R, but I did not know how much it entailed until we talked to various clubs. So I think I want to do something that involves more of like being on the field. There's player information jobs available where you can kind of I could translate the data to a Spanish speaking player because I understand it, but I wouldn't have to know how to code to do that. So I guess I learned that there are a lot of more jobs than you would think available, and some clubs will make jobs for you if they see that you could fill a valuable role for them. So made some good contacts, met some really good people, made some probably lifelong friends. So it was great.
Awesome.
Nice.
80 experience.
It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. I was just going to say, especially with like just the amount of like going out there and it's just like information overload, and then able to sit back and at least use those opportunities to go into what something you really want to do. That's really cool.
I'm sure being around people that are just really into something you're really into is just always positive. We did a music festival last year for music nerds. It was wonderful. Just being around people that really loved it. Yeah, it just sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I said, there were people, I think everybody there was a lot smarter than I am. Most of them were biometrics people and data scientists. And here I am like Yeah, I'm 31. I'm going back to school. I just really love baseball. But everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. And like I said, I think it did make me realize that I don't think I would want a full-time like data analyst role. There are roles that are kind of hybrid roles that both do a little bit of analytics and a little bit of scouting. And I think I would love that. But yeah, I'm just kind of keeping my eyes open, keeping my opportunities open, and trying to learn something new every day.
Yeah, I mean, I went and I got back and got my degree when I was 30, so it makes it's never too late to do that. So, well, let's start with the So Jace Young was optioned back to AAA Toledo, and now the Tigers are back into a spot that the start of the offseason they need a third baseman, and so it's kind of the whole situation with that right now is essentially It's going to probably be probably a Zach McKinstry, as AJ Hinch said, it's going to be a timeshare. So you're going to, in the quote, his exact quote, so you're going to see Zach McKinstry there. You're going to see Andy Baez. You'll get some time there, and then we'll see if anybody else factors in, end quote. So that being said, it is once again, this is to me, historically speaking, it's just funny how the Tigers every so often, every few years, will go through this. They went through this the entire decade in the 80s. In the 90s, for the most part, until Travis Fryman was there until they traded him. And then they pretty much went through that whole period until Brandon Inge filled the role. Then it went through that again. So it's a really strange, historically speaking, thing for the Tigers recently. I'll start with you, Uper, on this. But Jace Young just looked like he was couldn't hit velocity this spring.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where not everybody gets to the big leagues on a step-by-step basis with no halts or delays, right? He last year got hurt, sapped some of his power. Now he's come back and he's had a bad 3 or 4 weeks in camp, and they need him to go down to the minors. It's pretty obvious he has to go for now. Doesn't mean that he won't be back. He could be hot and come back on May 1st. We don't know. But my suspicion is he's going to be there for at least, I would say, through the midsummer. And that's okay. Really get him going again and get his confidence up and then get him back. In the meantime, I know there's a lot of people, especially when Bregman's this week, he was out there saying that, I thought I was going to go to Detroit all winter. And a lot of people piled on that, the Tigers not being ready, not having a plan, blah, blah, blah. Young didn't get ready this year. He wasn't ready. Vierling got hurt. What are you going to do? I mean, that's just baseball. It's a long season. Things are going to change. And I just don't think a platoon with Andy Ibanez and McKinstry and Baez, that could work out just fine for the short term.
Well, you, Chris, I mean, what was I know that people say you're the most critical on Jace Young, but maybe you have a reason.
Well, what I saw this spring was basically what I saw when we first saw him join Pro Ball years ago. And it doesn't mean he can't snap out of it. But I've also had this feeling all along that like the organization doesn't necessarily love him, and because he didn't really deserve or need to come up last year, based on their own criteria, right? Scott Harris, they always want the people to dominate the level that they're at, and he was doing fine in AAA, but he wasn't hitting for any power. And I don't necessarily. It almost felt like they just wanted to get a look at him to see if it was going to work, and then be done with it. Like I hate to be so dismissive or think that they were that dismissive. And they brought Jackson Jobe came up. He wasn't dominating the level either, but that was kind of all right. He's got the stuff to help us in the bullpen. We're going to the playoffs. Let's bring him up. And Trey Sweeney was dominating in Toledo, so they brought him up. And Young just kind of felt like, all right, let's see what we have. And he didn't do a whole lot to impress. In his debut last year, it wasn't awful, but he just no power, and that's basically going to be his calling card. And he just didn't have a good spring. We talked about it last week. Like when you're on the end of the roster, you got to have a good spring. You don't where the team is right now. You can't just go out there and be terrible and expect to make the team. So it's certainly far from over for him. But I'm not. I don't know. I'm not super encouraged by it either.
By the way, that's a second Fugazi reference this week by Deadly Ninja Bees, and that's a word that not just associated with the indie band from the late 80s, early 90s. But no. What about you, Mike?
I mean, it's a shock because I don't disagree with anything that Chris was saying, but with Bregman not being here, it almost just felt like it was his job to lose, and he lost it.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, last week we kind of talked about things looking at it like it was his job. It wasn't like something he had to earn. And I think that that's part of it really. And I think I brought this up a lot in recent shows. It's harder to make the Tigers than it has been the last couple of years. I think, the last couple of seasons, he might have made it anyway, just because the end of the bench wasn't looking so strong. But the fact that they're not looking great at third base, but I mean, at least the end of the bench is looking a little bit stronger than it has. I was shocked personally. It sounds like I was a lot more shocked than all of you, just because, again, it really seemed like it was his to lose. But I think it's crazy to say this, but I think we're gonna the fact that it's going to give Javi Baez an opportunity for more at bats is really a scary notion. But I do think that that's what's going to happen at the beginning of this season. At least, hoping a very speedy recovery for Matt Vierling, who's not like incredible, but presumably an upgrade over Javi Baez. Just the whole left side of the infield, I'm very worried about. Offensively, defensively, it's. Hell, right side is going to be a wild roller coaster too. Infield defense is going to be. It's going to be fun. They're just going to be trying stuff, man.
I know. It does. It feels like they're pulling names out of hat right now, and like, okay, you go to shortstop. I don't want to. Ashley, if you had an opinion, I don't know if we went fully around yet.
I mean, kind of just to reiterate what everybody else said, were kind of my thoughts. Looking back, it almost makes me wonder how much we really were involved with a plan B. Like how much we would, because everybody could sit here and say, well, we should have picked up so-and-so, we should have picked up so-and-so. And it's like, never really know what's going on in the front office. And I guess I wish I knew what was going on in the front office and, how much were we actually pursuing Santander? Because that was a rumor. How much were we, well, bat-wise, I'm not talking position-wise, but bat-wise. How much were we pursuing like Ha-Seong Kim? Mm-hmm. I just kind of wonder what was going on there. Obviously, we kind of know what happened with the Bregman situation, but we have a little dilemma. I would, if we just had somebody who stuck at one of those positions that we could be like, all right, he's our guy, would be great. But we don't have that, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, earlier, I know Trey Sweeney's got the good range. Hopefully he can make up for other people. I don't know how Javi Baez's range is going to look after the surgery that he had. But, there's really not much to say,
Raj, we've been doing this for a while now. We have a couple, certain things we say all the time. And I'm wondering if you could think of the one that I'm thinking of. Our sayings for years now.
We do have plenty. I'm just trying to think of the one. Yeah.
So I guess the one I'm thinking of right now is that teams will show you what they actually think about players by their actions. And we've said that forever. And you just think about, okay, what did the Tigers do this offseason? Well, they signed a second baseman very quickly. Not very quickly, but pretty early on. And so what was the plan for Jace Young if they had signed Alex Bregman? He's not going to play second base. I mean, the organization was very comfortable, apparently, with him spending all year in Toledo, one way or the other. And so I don't know. It just feels to me like they don't like him that much. I don't know. We'll see what happens, how it plays out. I do believe in the kid's work ethic, and he did seem like he gotten slightly faster and better on defense this spring, which I give him credit for that because I didn't think there was much hope there. But he's gonna have to hit his way back to the big leagues, and he might. But that's the only way to do it.
And it's interesting. The whole thing about go back to Scott Harris's early days, and all the quotes about control the strike zone, right? Mm-hmm. Jace Young's pretty good. I mean, he'll draw a walk. And so it's interesting. It's interesting to think about what they don't like. If they just assume that he's never going to hit more than 190, I don't know. Maybe that's what they think. But you keep flashing old Al there, and that's the fact. What is Jace Young?
What are you talking about, Huber? What are you talking about?
That's
Go,
not
go.
a Scott Harris guy. That was not a Scott Harris pick, right? And that's always going to be a half a strike against Young right there.
I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is, like, here's the thing. I think there was, again, we heard about like the night that the Tigers wanted the analytics people wanted Zach Nato, and the Tigers older brass wanted Jace Young, and it was the David Chads and all that in the world, and but Jace Young has done, he's a guy who goes out, he can hit for extra base power. He has looked a little better in third base, but at the same time, I think the Tigers are kind of slowly, they're continuing to do this, kind of like their people, the people that they like are making more of a lead, or kind of slowly getting in there. Everybody else is just kind of like Matt Manning comes to mind. I mean, then again, when you're posting an ERA over 12 in spring, there's only some, that's you can't do anything with that. But then the other things about the subtle, like, well, you refuse to do this, this, and this, and this, gets out there a little bit more. But honestly, I think that the contingency plan for the Tigers, I think they didn't have a backup plan, essentially. I really think that kind of showed right there. And now they're trying everything, including Kevin McGonigal at third, which, I mean, we saw that during, the spring breakout game, and I'm cool with that. But I mean, this is the man who made the decision. We're going to talk about him today because he was on a podcast. He was on the Detroit News podcast, and he had some interesting comments, and so I wanted to get to that later. But either way, let's look at some of the as far as like what really kind of really made me mad was Bregman's like, oh, I thought I was 98% certain I was going to come here. Then why didn't you come here then? That's a stupid, like, why are you trying to, like, Scott Boras play, like, wordsmith your way out of some, that's just, it's ridiculous. Like what Matt Wood says here, and he says, I'll rub this young bobblehead and everything will be just fine. Look, Stan, I'm going to align Young with Manning for this simple reason, is because they have an opinion about either one of them as part of this organization. As far as like their outfielders go, in terms of like, it's one of those things that there was a backup plan, but losing both center fielders, fine, but you still needed another bat. You still needed to address that in the offseason. You didn't. There was no trade for it or anything. Regardless if they didn't have, like, to me, I've said this since the beginning of the offseason. They needed another impact bat. And if they were going to have Bregman, then who else was it going to be? Was it going to be setting up because he mentioned doing a trade in the offseason, and that didn't happen. And Harris has been pretty, like, transparent on what he's going to do. So that's the only reason why I say that, Stan. Injury or not, you still didn't have a backup plan to address that, to force the issue. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with what you said. I think we definitely needed another impact bat. And it concerns me that we don't have, I'm thinking like up the middle. I'm thinking premium positions. I'm happy with Jake Rogers at catcher. He's a great defensive catcher. I'm happy with Parker Meadows at center field. Obviously, he's hurt right now. But shortstop is... I would rather see us have a good shortstop than a good third baseman, to be honest with you. But both of those are holes, and now I'm very concerned about the left side of the infield, as you said.
Yeah, but we I think we've said this before too. The infield defense seemingly got worse in the offseason. I mean, Gleyber Torres is a guy who has been notoriously bad at second base, and so you have and Cole Cusack looked pretty good at first base so far, but he's green, so that's just going to be a thing where it's going to be an interesting challenge. Like, he's not Riley Green, but he's just green. So. And again, anybody is going to be. I think buying Andy Bañez is going to be more important than the role in terms of like a handyman, utility guy than people lead to believe. So I think that his role is going to continue to increase with the injuries going on right now. And then you're still concerned about when Teal Perez is back, because as you know, that's another thing we've also said since the beginning of time, Chris.
Yep, that's one of our our catchphrases.
Yeah.
Backs are no good. Bad back is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. it's the the season's almost here, so we're just analyzing the roster like crazy, and 6 weeks from now it's going to be completely different.
Exactly.
Whatever. And then 3 months it's going to be even more different. So it's natural, but yeah, I don't know. I'd feel better if we had some more concrete updates about Vierling and Meadows. I mean, it's the thing is those were two of their best bats last year by WRC Plus at the end of the season. Like they're down two of their best bats again, like they were last year when Green and Carpenter were out. Now you don't necessarily think of Meadows and Vierling as like that level of impact, but it's going to hurt the offense. Getting Torres helps. Torque and Malloy both had like pretty good springs, so you're hoping that you're going to get something there from them, at least in the aggregate. But yeah, that would have helped. Certainly would have helped to have Bregman or some other big bat to help ease the pain. But I don't know. Maybe those guys will come back soon and they'll be okay.
Yeah. It didn't work. It didn't work. I was trying to pull and it didn't work.
That is a pie chart.
It was. It was just Pi Day the other day, right?
Yeah, it was just Pi Day the other day. No, there's just a lot of concerns with the injuries, and so, wow, Arkansas beat Kansas. Wow, all right, thank you, Steve, for that update. Jeez, oh, Pete.
Poor Hunter Dickinson.
Screw you, Kansas. I mean, Missouri's. I don't want to talk about it. It's not over. It's not over.
And you know what? Here's a. Sam says he's about to listen to us on a Montreal bus and listen on the way home. We appreciate that, sir.
Wow.
But I like what Javi Baez said. He brings up a good point. He said Perez's back issues could lead to hip surgery at some point. He's absolutely right. It's something that, again, how much you do with your back and hips and everything, all in so many things, it is kind of a concern. And so, but then when you don't have depth right now in AA and AAA to, Andrew Navigado, who got sent down, we could see him come back up at some point. Can he play third? I don't remember him playing a lot of third, Chris. Do you?
He played. That's where he got hit by Jose Tena. Remember? He was playing third.
Workman was playing short. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
He can play third. He can play he plays everywhere. The bummer is his best position is probably second base, along with everybody else in the Tiger system. And so they could play him. They could play him in the outfield corners. He plays a little bit everywhere. So he could be an option. He had a good spring himself. I don't think he hit for a ton of power, but he was constantly getting hits. He just is one of those guys that plays well when you play him. But they optioned him down fairly quickly, so it wasn't like he had a shot at making the roster. But I don't know. We'll see. If things get another couple injuries, he's probably on the short list.
Yeah, it was interesting to me is the fact that he started seeing some more time in left field too. And so that was a position he wasn't playing before, if at all. He was always been primarily in the infield. All right, so now it's time. I do want to transition a little bit with the tournament going on. I do want to talk a little bit about the futures game, a little bit, the spring breakout game. We talked about it yesterday a little bit towards the end of the podcast with our friends over with the Future Sox, which, by the way, great website to talk. If you're into what the AL Central Chicago White Sox are doing, that's one of my favorite sites. Those guys over there, Ian and James, do a fantastic job over there. So Kevin McGonigal, speaking of which, he played some third. Mm-hmm. Chris and I talked about this. I don't know if you guys, if anybody else in the group watched the futures game, or I keep seeing the futures game. Sorry, the spring breakout game.
Yes, I watched parts of it, not continuously, but it was in and out.
I know, Ashley, you were traveling back, right?
I had just gotten back from the conference back to where I was staying in Arizona. And I was watching you guys. I was watching your feed, and I fell asleep with my phone in my hand. So I watched a little bit of it. That's how tired I was. I watched a little, but not the whole thing. But obviously, I checked out the box score and everything after. So
stunning rebuke of our entertainment value.
No, that proves that I wanted to watch you guys when I was tired. That's a compliment.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Mike, did you watch any of it?
Yeah, I was in and out. I caught what I could. I checked it out after,
Yeah.
Watched Troy Melton's outing. Like that. I think you guys posted that.
Yeah, we did. We posted all the outings, and I wanted to address what Jaden said here, which is, and injuries are more long term than we think. Hao Lee has to have a very important few weeks in the minors. Yes, Jaden, that's correct. He is capable of playing defense. The problem is his swing is way too aggressive right now, And it was something that, if you notice, it just looks like he's swinging out of his shoe tops. I mean, dead seriously, it's a bunch of over swinging. I know that they're trying to work on correcting his hip alignment a little bit, and defensively, he's fine. I mean, I think he has the arm range to do it, but what I'm concerned with is like just if he can hit the ball on a regular basis.
I'm sorry. My question on that to you guys, you watched him more last year than I did.
Mm-hmm.
Was that his approach last year?
He was aggressive last year, but he wasn't. It seemed like he ratcheted up a level this spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
A
lot more.
It reminds me. We've made this comment before. It kind of reminds me of what happened with Parker Meadows, where Parker Meadows came out last year and his swing just got super long for whatever reason, and he had to go down to the minors and he shortened it up, and he wasn't swinging as hard or as fast, but he was making much more contact. And I think Lee needs to do something like that.
Yeah.
I think he's just a very aggressive, wants to go out and get it type of guy, and I think he was trying to hit his way to the big leagues like in every single at bat, and he was getting overwhelmed by fastballs, which was somewhat concerning. But I think that's just a matter of maybe staying within himself a little bit more and being okay with shooting a single to the right field gap or something.
So if the beginning of the season things look really rocky in Detroit at third base, and the three-headed monster there isn't working, how long do you think he would need to be at Toledo and show a better approach, similar to last year, and not we saw this spring, before they would confidently bring him back? I mean, is that months?
Yeah, I mean, it's Young going back to Toledo certainly makes that a little bit more interesting because, he's probably not going to be playing third as much. I don't know. Are they going to be swapping time between second and third?
Yeah.
I would think, if Lee has, I can't see him coming up within the first 2 months.
Okay.
I would think that, if he's hitting 300 with power as June rolls around, he might get the call if it's a disaster in the big leagues. But by that point, you would hope that Veerling's back, and it's not necessarily, the emergency that it feels like right now. But who knows? Maybe it's like a 3-week thing where he goes down and he's JD Martinez, and they're like, well, we got to bring him up. Who knows? That could be Young too, right? Like he could go down there and hit 8 home runs in the first 15 games, and they'll bring him up.
I do want to. I was saving this because I was saving this. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but now that we have a bigger, more of a Detroit Tiger audience. I mean, yesterday we had a lot of. Yesterday was actually, to be fair, we filmed late. We recorded late yesterday because our friends are Central Timers, so we wanted to be accommodating. And so, without further ado, though, let's talk about one of the things that was a highlight of Sunday's matchup here, and that is the sweet swing of. And we have a new feature here, the Spotlight feature here, where we can talk over, and this makes it a lot easier because we just switch platforms. Check this out, just like whoosh, barrel it up really nicely. Ashley, I know you've been analyzing swings of. I know you've been working more on pitching scouting report wise, but
yeah,
you mentioned this before the podcast. I want you to. What was your observation? You said here.
If I remember right, because it's been a while since I've watched his high school video of his swing. And listen, I'm just getting started analyzing swings, so don't nobody attack me. But I think he looked a little more squared up than he did in high school.
Yeah, I thought that was a good observation on your part there because it to me, correct me, it just looking at it looks like he's barreling it up really nicely here. Just getting it, right there.
Everything's on time.
Look at
the back part of his body's on time.
All right.
Let's face it; those swings are pretty. He's a 19-year-old Greek god in our eyes right now.
Yeah,
good.
I like Tigers UK. He's like, tell me that isn't Christian Yelich. Yeah. That's a pretty good comp there.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he's Yelich, that'd be outstanding. Like we talked about yesterday. It's very exciting. I try to temper expectations a little bit for people by saying this is 3 at bats. We didn't really see him get challenged inside, or get any breaking balls or changeups, or get any chances on defense. But I don't know. Sometimes you see things and you go, "Yep, that's it. That'll do it." And the swing is beautiful. And if you go back and look at his summer showcase circuit between his junior and senior years of high school wasn't good. He didn't perform very well, and he got upset with that, and he got in the cages and worked on his swing, and he got better, had a much better senior season. And I think, he's continued to refine it, and that's one of those things you'd like to see is a guy who had some issues, worked on them, and got better. And you hope that can continue as he gets challenged in the minors. But he's certainly going to be, like, his first home run is probably going to get 1 billion views when we clip it, and if we can get it first, and all that stuff. He's going to be somebody people are watching very, very closely. No, you disappeared, Raj.
Here again?
There he was.
I gotta get it. I'm gonna have to get
it.
Sucks. You guys hear me?
Yep.
There, you hear you now. Yep.
Okay. All right. Anyway, what I wanted to share was also this, which was one of the things that was a very good highlight here was Kevin McGonigal playing third base, and we haven't seen this, but here's for anybody who missed this on Sunday. Look at this. Woo! Frozen rope.
Good throw.
Yeah, good throw.
And credit to Briseño for the stretch and the pick there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think. And that's we said yesterday. That's a 70 runner according to MLB Pipeline. So even to make it close was pretty impressive from that far away. More arm than we realized, which is like that lessens my concern about shortstop, and it makes third base a possibility. It's like, well, that's good to hear or see.
Looking at the hands and the feet.
Yeah,
we need him at shortstop. He could play at shortstop.
Yeah, that's boy, that'd be awfully fun.
Yeah, but the I do like what Alan says here. Rangers, today's Tigers, Golden Boy, like
Goldie.
Pepper.
Don Pepper.
You haven't had a Purnell Goldie reference in quite some time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's a first, isn't it?
Maybe it could be.
Probably.
Yeah, Alan. That's Alan. Well played there. That's that's now if we get a Purnell Goldie reference there. But yeah, Chris, I like what Sam here said. Now it's time to overreact. But there's a lot of other things too, and you want to listen to the minor league podcast. We'll have that up tomorrow, but we broke it down a little bit further on there. But I was encouraged by a lot of different things. The one thing that's been consistent the last couple weeks in spring training is the Tigers have been hitting the ball better, prospect or non-prospect wise too. Again, spring training, we got to calm down. We got to do a deep breath. Keeping everything in perspective. But it is good to see on the young bats, and the reason why that's important is because I was going back when the Toledo started their 150 game season, because they used to play 133 games. There's been a gradual increase in walks across the system. Now, power wise is is it based off the league? There are all these factors in. So for example, for low A and triple A, it's the strike zone. It's the ABS. But then I looked at Erie because Chris mentioned, Erie is a neutral. There's no, you can play Erie. And the walks in Erie year to year was a significant increase. So this is a team that at that point too, the team that struck out almost, I think, was over 1,000 times. I believe it was like with Torkelson and Green, what have you. So there is a change in habits, and the reason I brought that up is because Andy Dirks made a comment of how the team is taking better at bats and organization wise. So that's been something I've been seeing throughout spring training, and it was there in the futures game. A lot of deep counts, a lot of deep, even against that guy Fuentes, who was dealing for the Braves. By the way, he had 7 strikeouts. But either way, that was just an observation I noticed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one thing that I've felt as we've watched some of these spring training games is when the young guys get in late in some of these games, they don't look overmatched. They are taking good at bats and working counts. It's only, obviously they're probably not facing major league pitching, their fellow minor leaguers, but still, I think it's been impressive. And the at bat that stuck out to me this week was Lorenzo with a 11 pitch walk the other day against Richard Fitz in the Red Sox.
Fitz, or was it Duran? Well, I thought it was.
Sorry, yes, Johan Duran. Yes, sorry. Yeah, there you go. But anyway, yeah, I thought I was watching that pretty darn good. Going 11 pitches against that guy and getting the walk was pretty impressive.
All right. So let's move on to let's go on predictions and over-unders and all that stuff. We'll talk about Al Avila. We're going to definitely talk about Al Avila and his appearance.
Stop bringing that picture up. It's trauma.
It's creepy, isn't it? His bedroom is.
Looks like it's a headshot from
Sleep paralysis demon.
It looks like it comes up, during Unsolved Mysteries or something.
So, all right, let's start with this is over.
You're back underwater there, Raj.
Jeez, Pete, man.
Oh, you're back. Hey,
that's weird. Okay, all right. So, what?
Oh, nothing. We don't necessarily have to go through all this. This is just we've done this the last couple of years in the Discord, and we just kind of throw these out there and have people, and then we keep track of what people say, and then at the end of the year, somebody wins.
Yeah. So this is Chris's over under. I'm gonna keep it on the screen for a few minutes here because usually, we like to. That's not what I wanted to do at all.
Technically on the screen.
Yeah. It is. But so this is Chris's over under for the year. Baez playing 6. I did want to ask you about Montero's innings pitched. Do you think it's going to be injury, or do you just think he's not?
Well, I still am thinking that Mize and Job are going to win the final 2 rotation spots, and then Cobb is going to come back at some point, and they're paying him $15 million, so he's going to be in the rotation unless he doesn't come back. I just feel like Montero's going to get a bunch of doubleheader outings, and then at some point somebody's going to get injured or whatever, come up and pitch. But I feel like he's not going to get regular innings at the big league level. I may be completely wrong, and hopefully we'll know before the season starts, and maybe we can adjust that a little bit. If Montero makes the rotation and Job doesn't, then we can alter those. But for now, that's just my speculation.
I'll take the over on that one.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I think he pushes 80 to 90, maybe a little more. And also, I'm going over on Javi Baez. Comeback player of the year, baby. There you go. He's going to get 100 games in. He's going to hit 240, and people are going to be ecstatic.
Well,
I would be ecstatic with that.
Yeah.
I feel like I had a dream that was happening once, and that's how I knew I was dreaming, because Javi Baez won comeback player of the year.
All right. Well, let me see if I got. I got Upers here, so I do have Upers. Let's bring up Upers, shall we?
I know that people think I'm Nostradamus or Nostradamus.
Let's go bring up the Upers. Yeah, because I got. Let's see here. Okay, so here's Upers. So I put this in presentation mode. Okay. Production on the fly. So Uper has Colt Keith. Yeah, over under. Colt Keith over 20 home runs. Riley Green over 20 home runs. Carpenter at 20 home runs. Torkelson at 17. And Tigers win-loss record at 79-83. So you have them under 500.
Well, I think I had Carpenter at 22, but no big deal. Who cares?
Okay.
Those are all, Colt Keith, Riley Green, and Kerry Carpenter, those would all be career highs. So that's not terrible. And I just wonder how much Kerry Carpenter will really play, if he's going to get the at-bats against lefties. If they limit his plate appearances, I just don't know how many home runs he's really going to hit. So that's kind of where I went there. I have the Tigers under 500, I just don't think enough is put on how historic the finish was last year and where that team was going until they started playing like that. They were very mediocre, and they're bringing back a lot of the same guys. And the path to success this year is a lot of those young guys taking a big step forward, and some may, but it's very unlikely they all do. And the other thing I think is people are a little too sure that Tarek Skubal is going to be the best pitcher in the world again. That's not easy to do 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And, if you told me he was what was he B-WAR last year, like 6.5, something like that?
Sounds about right.
Let's say he has a 4 B-WAR this year. He takes a step back. It's still a hell of a good year, but would it shock you? I don't know. Because again, it's not easy to win the Cy Young twice in a row and be the best pitcher in the world. So we'll see where this team goes. I think they have a ceiling. You could construct a million scenarios where they can push 88, 89 wins, but I feel safer around 79, 80 wins.
All right, that's fair. I do. That's funny. Somebody saying you're trolling the fans there.
I was 100%.
Okay.
Alex Bregman, baby. He's going to get off to a start batting in a 3-hole. He's going to have like 1 million RBIs the first 2 months and start that narrative. And he's going to be peppering the Green Monster. And Tiger fans are just going to lose their minds.
So I'm going to go. I was a little. So I went with prospect debuts. Chris, you had 3.5, right? On yours?
That was the over under, yeah.
Yeah. So I went over 3.5. I went with 5. I think 5 prospects will make their debut. Mainly probably pitching. Tyler. Well, I'm not gonna name them right now, but as far as like RBIs or Green gets close to 30 home runs, I think. Keith, you said 25. I went with 20 but I also think Cole Keith's gonna hit 25 home runs. So I'm a little confident about that. Dylan Dingler. You know what? I know that is going to over under 250. I go 260 batting average. I think he becomes more of an offensive force this year. Just being predicted, like being a little happy about that, or just being maybe a little too optimistic about that. Gleyber Torres hits 22 home runs, and then Job strikeouts 130. Now, I had NL rookie. I don't know why it deleted itself. A rookie or Roki Suzuki for NL rookie of the year, but I'm gonna go Cam Smith. Of Houston, and this is why. For anybody that's watched the show, for anybody that's who has pretty much watched the draft coverage since last year, I have been a big Cam Smith guy. I wanted the Tigers to pick him. It didn't happen. It's okay, no big deal. But he has been lights out. Like he has hit anywhere at any level since he started in the major leagues, and I think Cam Smith's the real deal. And he's a tremendously talented kid, and I really think he has a chance to win AL Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, I bet it's just his numbers in the wooden bat. For me, I just think that I don't know. I've faith that maybe he might win Rookie of the Year. So, but I think for 84 wins, I think that's realistic based off the vision, based off the fact the Tigers have really good pitching. The offense concerns me. The injuries do concern me, but I think they have enough to go over 500 and get it done. So, but as far as Mike goes, let's see here. Mike, I have your stuff here. Let me pull yours up real quick, and then we're going to go to Ashley because Ashley has some unique takes as well. Let's see here. So this is Mike's. He has it at over 82 wins, so 83. He's got Keith with 20 home runs. That Green home run total correct?
Yeah, so I think he's going to hit 29 home runs because I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to have. I don't want to put this on him, but I just don't know if he's going to play the full season. So I put him at 29 home runs, but I put a caveat. I think if he plays 150-ish games, 149, somewhere around there, then he's going to hit that 30 home run mark. I fully expect Riley Green to be. I expect the most out of Riley Green than anyone else on the entire roster, even more than Skubal. I got to be honest with you. I fully expect Riley Green to step up and really be the offensive leader on this team. I think this is the year. I do.
Okay. Fair. All right. If anybody, by the way, anybody in the chat who's watching us on YouTube or on Twitter, if you have your predictions, let us know too. So Ashley, I'll have you right here with yours as Tigers 87 wins. I'll let you explain. I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead and.
So I think obviously we're a second half team, and I feel like every year it gets increasingly escalates kind of. Last season, nobody predicted what we were going to do in the second half. I did say I thought we were going to be a second half team. I was not predicting the playoffs. But I feel like it's going to happen again. I feel like everybody's going to panic in the beginning of the season. It's going to be mayhem. And then I think in the second half, as long as we have a healthy Meadows and a healthy Veerling, I just have a feeling we'll do something good at the trade deadline. I'm feeling good about our pitching this year. I'm going to say 87 wins. Call me a homer. It's fine. Bold prediction, I know, but that's what I'm going to say.
Hey, yeah. I got to
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Roger. Oh, I was just gonna say, I got to be real. The hardest thing for me to do was the fact that I picked Cleveland as my last wild card spot over the Tigers, and that's in my head what I did, and I'm not happy with the decision. I just feel like it's gonna happen. Gut feeling. I'm not happy about it. I wouldn't call you a homer, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I might be a little bit of, but yeah. To be fair, this is one extreme to another because last season I went in with no hope, and this season I'm going in with probably too much hope. So, all about
So
balance,
the one thing I did like was your WAR prediction of Riley Green. That was a really good one right there because I thought I think that's spot on. Torkelson, I didn't really officially say this. Look, I will say, I think, screw it. I think it surprises people it hits just over 20 home runs or 20 home runs.
Torkelson?
Yeah, I think Torkelson just does it. I do like We2's prediction here. Mize wins 12 games. I think and I do, because that goes in line with what you predicted of 110 innings pitched there. I like that as well.
I mean, I'm hoping, I hope he stays healthy. He's looked good in spring training so far. Thank you, Sammy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year for Casey. I'm just, and that's me being a crack of the bat guy and just like going off the eye test, watching him in spring training. He looks so much better.
Yeah, same. I think even just his demeanor too. He just seems a lot more. But the sound of the bat does sound a little better. But what the biggest concern for me with the Tigers heading into that second half of the season is just health. Because I mean, I think the bullpen. It also depends on if they can have another swing and miss guy out of the bullpen. So they really need that, and I think their bullpen is setting up pretty well. It just depends on how if Foley struggles, then who's going to be the closer late. That's where it's going to be. Here's We2's predictions too. He said Mize is 12 wins, Job 12 wins, Riley Green 28 home runs, 90 RBIs, Carp 25 home runs. Keith, I like the 290 average. That's nice. Dingler 18 home runs, 30 home runs. Meadows and Green's Gold Gloves. All right, yeah, I like that. We2 is not.
That's a World Series team, man. If you're getting Job and Mize are combining for 24 home runs, and you got 60 home runs. Yeah, that's possible. That would be a lot of fun. I think you'd have
that would be a light the cigar kind of year, man. In September, that would
America would be packed every night.
What was the last? By the way, when was the last time the Tigers had more than two players that hit 4 or 20 or more home runs?
What, didn't Carpenter and Torkelson do it 2 years ago?
No, I'm sorry, more than two. More
than two. Yeah. 1993.
Ooh, all right, so it's been a while.
No, you know what? There was that year when like Thames and Inge both hit 20 plus, and probably Maglio or somebody like that.
Maybe, yeah, it might have been, yeah. So, I do like Jaden's. That's a nice prediction there. He's got. Okay. All right.
I like Ninja B's question: who pitches more innings, Job or Holton?
Yeah,
that's pretty. That's a nice question.
Yeah. It may be pretty close.
Yeah.
What do we think of Holton? Now he's been great for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. But we know the volatility of lefties or relievers, I should say. He's not an overly hard thrower. Is it fair to pencil him in? For 60 outings of what we've seen the last 2 years. I mean, are we expecting that?
I am. He's one of the few guys I can remember. Not the few guys I can remember, but I just am always comfortable when he's out there. I go I'm shocked when something goes wrong.
Yeah, same.
He throws quality pitches all the time. Now any pitcher can get hurt, any pitcher can lose command or whatever, and who knows. But I'm expecting good things from him, and if he's healthy, I think he will deliver. You never, like you said, he doesn't strike out a ton of guys, so there's always the possibility, particularly with the defense we're looking at right now on the infield, things might get a little ugly on him. But
I agree. Usually, I'm very skeptical about relievers, but I've always said there's a very low stress level to a Tyler Holton outing. It might be 1K, soft fly ball, ground ball to short, in the dugout we go. And why can't he do one more year of that?
I think he has a nice long arm action. He repeats his delivery. He's very consistent. He has a good pitch mix. He might not be overpowering guys, but he's extremely valuable with the profile that he has. I'm never nervous. Never nervous when Tyler Holton goes out there. Like you said, Chris, I'm shocked when something goes wrong. I'm like, not mad. I'm like, it's okay. It'll be okay. It'll be
Yeah.
Here's a question I
That's
have
the
for
best one.
everybody. Are we sure Jason Foley is on the opening day roster? Because he has an option.
We have a lot of depth too.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that he is not, if they were just taking the players who've looked the best, performed the best, he doesn't deserve to come north.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and the fact that he didn't really pitch in the playoffs last year makes you wonder.
Yeah, red flag there, I think.
I do think that they allow some leeway with the relievers in spring. Like, Will Vest has gotten hit around a little bit. Bo Bruschi hasn't looked like awesome, but you just kind of assume, all right, those guys are coming up. They're just working on stuff they're honing it in. If Foley gets left off in favor of Hannafy, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
I think Hannafy's looked great. Foley has not. But I don't know. I'm like I say, yeah, I'd say it's probably like an 80% chance he does make the team, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if he doesn't.
Yeah, maybe he could go down there and they work on something specific for him to get some swing and miss stuff back. And he has not been. I mean, he's the guy who's got a big sinker. Before we leave, though, this evening, I did want to address the question from last week from Stan, because we didn't have time to do that, and I wanted to address the question. Do you guys have that question?
Where is that? Yeah, it was. Let me go back a little bit. I made a mistake of tweeting something, and then now my tweets are gone. Like,
here's Jaden's his mold take. He says Baez is over a walk rate over 5% and K rate around 21%.
Ooh.
Wow. All right. You know what? I like that. Henry Rankin here with a nice comment here. He says, given the health of this team coming out of spring training, I see a ceiling at 80 wins. The Tigers will have 40 more errors than last year, so expect a noticeable increase in runs allowed. That's a good call, Henry. Their defense in the infield, like we've mentioned, has not been. Again, it's a downgrade for the sake of an offensive upgrade, but we'll see if that even is the case. Kevin wants to know, does Chafin make it? If not, only one left-hander out of the bullpen.
He's signed to a minor league deal, right? He can go. They can put him in Toledo, unless he has some kind of opt-out.
No, they can't.
No, I don't. There's no chance he makes the team. He hasn't looked good in a single outing in the spring, and I don't. Again, I'm always going to say the caveat, but he doesn't look ready at all.
You know what's weird, by the way, seeing Justin Wilson pitch the other day for Boston. That guy's still in the league.
Yeah,
I can't believe that Justin Wilson. I forgot about Justin Wilson. Then some, and he was. By the way, the Boston broadcast. I mean, they said wicked. People wonder when they say don't stereotype an area and everything. I heard wicked like 500 times. It was like the whole Boston thing. It was weird. Anyway, did you find the question yet, Chris?
I'm sorry. Like I said, I made the mistake of tweeting something about Job, and it got a billion people upset, and so I can't.
So Michael answered the question in 2016. That's right.
There you go.
Nicky Upton with 30 home runs, Kinsler, JD, and Vimar with 20 home runs.
2016 kind of gets lost in the memory banks a little because it was kind of the end. It was the last desperate gasps of a good era of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And it just ended up being just kind of a sad finish.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I want to be I want to be optimistic, and I want to be in a sense of, we always try to bring up some level of reality. Here's Detroit Degenerate says, not gonna lie, I wouldn't be surprised if they miss the playoffs and bounce back the next year, kind of like the Diamondbacks did.
Yeah,
that's not a realm of possibility. I like that either.
I mean, I think I had both Texas and Arizona back in the playoffs this year. Sometimes, things happen with teams. Sometimes everything goes wrong. Sometimes everything goes right.
Yeah.
So I found the Stan's question.
Okay.
He said, I'm referencing the current reality that the Yankees and Garrett Cole are having to deal with because he is having Tommy John surgery with 4 years left on a contract paying him $36 million a year, totaling $144 million. I'm hoping that you might do an analysis from all three perspectives on Tarek Skubal's options concerning his upcoming after the 2026 season on UFA. He's going to be free agent. What opinions do you have navigating this situation from Skubal's perspective, from Boris's perspective, and from the Detroit Tigers' perspective?
Mhm.
Should Skubal sign a temporary friendly deal soon out of fear he'll be injured before becoming a free agent, or wait to become a free agent?
Well, he's got the injury list, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got 2 major surgeries on his arm. So that right there is something that has to be considered in every move Detroit makes and how much they want to invest. But then you got to juxtapose that against being the best pitcher on the planet last year and what we saw. And it really go back to the half season before that when he started this run. You can see why people want the Tigers to invest in him. But he's going to be pushing 30. They have 2 years of this control left, which may end up being the best 2 years he has left. And everything he does after that is a real dice roll. I personally, if they don't want to break the bank on Tarek Skubal, and if Scott Boras can convince him that he's best off not to take any kind of discount and then hit the market, and then I would let the market just do its thing. And I'm okay with that.
I think based off what this we haven't really seen the front office as of yet, in terms of addressing a long-term veteran right now. But you look at the Tampa Bay Rays, you look at teams that once a pitcher hits 30, you kind of just all hands off there and you let the market do its thing. If they can, I'd like the Tigers to extend him. I honestly would. Tarek Skubal we've been a fan of Skubal for a long time here, but the reality of it is this is before the Tigers started developing him anyway. Or he got that changeup where he started learning the changeup. I think the Tigers are in a better position, fundamentally speaking, as far as make themselves, I don't say a pitching factory per se, but they are better at developing pitchers. So with that kind of confidence, if he decided to walk away, I feel like, okay, well, we're going to get I like what the Deadly Ninja Bee said. I want a Garrett Crochet return. That would be ideal because then the Tigers could go and do a lot with that. So that being said, I think that just like what I kind of said, the piggyback what Uper was saying, I worry about the injury because then what's going to happen is then it tarnishes him. If he does a long-term deal and then doesn't pitch, he's not healthy, then everybody's just, oh, wow, here we go again, signing a long-term contract. And, even though their signs were there, Al Vila earlier today on a podcast said that about Javi Baez. So I don't want that. Tarek Skubal is such a good player, such a good human being. I just rather not have that, that thing out there. So
I'm going to give a really front office-y answer here. But,
front office speak? Yeah.
Hey, Scott Harris, if you're watching. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody had a really interesting presentation at the analytics conference on pitcher injuries and Tommy John and all of that. And I feel like more goes into it than we know. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it in the front office. They're a lot bigger on biomechanics now, Kinetrax. And they were talking about what are the causes of injury primarily. And I think, a lot of us already knew this, but like chasing velo and max effort all the time, which Skubal doesn't, we don't see him hit 100 consistently all the time. Sometimes we do. Sometimes he gets mad and he does, but not always. Chasing stuff, spin, vertical break, horizontal break, and amateur overuse were like the main reasons for pitcher injuries. And there was like a threshold for elbow varus torque. Like I said, this is going to be a very front office-y answer. But I don't know if it's Kinetrax or if it's other things that measure like the elbow torque and how much weight the elbow can actually handle. But I feel like there's things like that going on behind the scenes that when things happen or don't happen, fans are going to get mad. But it's like, I don't think everybody really understands how advanced biomechanics are nowadays. And I feel like there's a lot that goes into that. And the front office is going to be looking at things like that we aren't even aware of to make the decisions that they're going to make. So that's just my 2 cents.
That's a good observation because you're right. There is that biomechanics is becoming more and more of a thing too, as well.
No question.
Mike?
Oh, he's muted, I think.
Yeah, Mike, you're muted.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh my goodness, I couldn't click the dang button. Man, that makes so much sense. I'd been like chiming in, and I was like, man, nobody really. Yeah, that explains so much. Anyway, I think what's going to end up happening is he will hit the open market. I know it's like the whole cliche Scott Boras thing, but if he stays as healthy and stays even like 90% of what he was last year, he's going to be considered the best left-handed pitcher on the market that year, right? So it's just the kind of contract he's going to get. It's going to be hard to not even just consider seeing what it would be. So at the very least, I'm positive he's going to hit the open market. Whether it ends up he comes back here, I don't really know if Detroit will be willing to reset the pitcher market in that time frame. So I think the chances are kind of low. I think your window is pretty much the last year if it was going to happen. And at this point, it just doesn't feel. It's just enjoy it while we have him, because it feels like to me that's where things are headed.
So, I mean, then the question comes, right? Do they just go with him for 2 more years and try to contend with him as their ace? Or at the end of this year, are they going to have to look to deal him off and get what they can? Or do you just let him go as a free agent and take the draft pick?
I think. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no, I mean, we've discussed this a little bit. If I'm the Tigers, I'm just pitching him as much as possible, right? Like I'm going the Garrett Cole route the Astros did. Go for it with him, and if you don't win it all, that's a bummer. But they're close enough to contention right now that would be it would be a terrible message to the fans, right? To trade him away, and it's not going to really help you a ton, I don't think. Not that just getting a draft pick would, but I think you might as well, you owe it kind of to the players and to the fans to at least try. If they're in last place on July 25th, 2026, then yeah, go ahead and trade them. You'll get something for them, I guess. But I think you're probably better off just going for it. From Skubal's perspective and Boris' perspective, there's no reason whatsoever to sign a deal right now. Even if he does get injured, he's shown what he can be. He's going to get a pretty hefty payday. If he doesn't get injured, we talk about this. Max Fried just got 8 years and $218 million, I think, heading into his age 31 season. Skubal has done. I mean, Max Fried has a little bit longer track record, but he never won a Cy Young, and Skubal will be a year younger when he hits free agency. So you're talking about 8 years and 220 as the absolute floor for Skubal, and it's probably more like 8 or 9 years and 250 to 300 million.
I was going to say 300. Yeah.
And so if I'm him and if I'm Boris, and the way Skubal thinks and the way I think he's kind of I wouldn't say he's altruistic, right? You're not altruistic when you're out there to get the highest payday, but I do think he believes in the union and the players and the idea that if you're one of the best, you need to go out there and set the market so that it helps everybody else. The rising tide theory or whatever. And he strikes me as that sort of guy. He's forever and ever. He's reminded me of Max Scherzer in a lot of ways, and that's I think the way that Max Scherzer thought. So for him, you're a pitcher. You can't worry about getting injured. It happens to everybody. You just got to go out there and perform your best. And when it comes time to hit free agency, the Tigers will have a chance just like everybody else, but they're going to have to pony up. And I would not necessarily give them a discount or a hometown anything. Who knows? Maybe something crazy happens.
Maybe he pulls a Cal Raleigh and fires Scott Boras. No.
Yeah, his babies, their first word is Detroit or something like that, and you go, oh.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, it's just the nature of the business. It's kind of a bummer that you want these players to stick here forever and be icons, but it doesn't work that way, right? Like even Justin Verlander has been gone for damn near a decade now. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, so much so that they're talking about possibly him being in the Hall of Fame with Houston, which doesn't seem right.
Doesn't sit right with me.
No,
he won multiple World Series there.
Yeah, I'm not Samuel not being you're not being a downer, and I think I agree with Stan. They don't want an Erod situation. that was it. Look, the bottom line is this: if there's a team out there that's going to blow them away with an offer that's going to help them get younger, with especially in a system right now that, look, the Tigers have a very good system. So I'm not, the number one according to MLB pipeline. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer on this, but at the same time, you still need more outfield prospects. You still need some more right-handed power. That is apparent to me. I don't care what anybody says. And, you can tell me, well, Roger, MLB pipeline is number one. Okay, well, then it's the same. Then, 5 minutes later, you have Keith Law saying that Max Clark is slow in the outfield. So, I don't know. It's all subjective. But at the same time, to me, the reality is I think the Tigers – thank you, Jason. Jason said it. Bet the Tigers wish they would have drafted Gage Workman in the Rule 5 draft. To a certain extent, I agree with that, but I also think because they had so many left-handed bats – Workman being if let me just say this: if Workman was a switch hitter and was doing what he was doing, he would have stayed. I think that, and I'm sorry, Gavin, team photographer, did similar photography last year in West Michigan.
Why would we bring it up?
It's the only great win of the year.
The Bulldogs.
Don't do this to me.
Sorry,
Drake,
sorry,
baby.
sorry. But no, the thing is that baseball is a week away. Let's just, if there's anything we can all be happy about, baseball's a week away.
It was. I mean, it was here. I don't know if you guys woke up at 6 a.m. to watch baseball.
Yes, I did.
I happened to be up at 6 a.m. I wasn't doing it for baseball, but yeah, it's when it happens half a world away, it doesn't necessarily excite you that much. But seen Ohtani hit a home run that I was like, what happened there? And apparently it hit the roof.
Yeah.
Which explains it. He's too big for Japan.
I love morning baseball. That's to me, that's the best part of the WBC is getting up early for those couple of weeks and watching games from Korea and so on. But yeah, I always feel bad I always root for a split in those international 2-game series.
Yeah.
Because it's just, those teams have to go on the road. They have to travel so far, and to come back 0-2 and not be able to play for a week and do anything about it, that's got to suck for the Cubs. I mean, it really has to be hard. So, unfortunately, the Dodgers took care of them 2 in a row.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So next week is the start of the Tigers baseball, and there was one other thing I wanted to mention before we end the podcast, and that is the Miami Marlins. I don't know if you guys saw that story about them trying to look for amateur players. Did you guys see that?
Oh,
story?
yeah. Well, they were trying to get amateur players to play against their A-ball team, I think.
Yeah. What kind of cheap?
Well, yeah. I mean, on the one hand, it was like, hey, this is kind of neat. You get a bunch of high school wannabes, Uncle Ricos out there reliving their glory, trying to play against. But then, that Major League Baseball was like, no. So
yeah.
Wouldn't you be better off just having them scrimmage against your rookie league team?
You would think so. I don't know exactly what's going on there. I don't know why they wanted, or most teams have their A-ball team play their high A team, or their AA and AAA teams play. Like I don't know. I don't know exactly what was going on there, what that thought process was.
It's funny, Chris, as we end the podcast, when we started doing this almost 10 years ago, we were making fun of the Marlins, and now it's full circle again.
Making fun of the Marlins?
Yeah. You're making fun of Uper was a listener then. He can attest to us ripping on Jeffrey Loria on a weekly basis. So yeah, and MLB is forcing the Rays ownership to sell the team. So hello Nashville, hello Portland.
Montreal, somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, or Charlotte.
Hello, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Oh,
What?
that would be the best.
I just wanted to say hello, Brooklyn.
Oh. I was gonna say
Hello. But anyway, I mean, it would be kind of fun to have a third New York team.
Hey, that's the baseball.
No, I don't want. No, that's not to me. Yeah,
Mike,
I agree with you, Mike. Did you say you would it? No, I agree with you, Mike.
No.
I would. Yeah. I don't know. Playing on Coney Island.
Yeah.
Let New York play in their own league then. Oh no, that would annoy the crap out of me.
Well, I don't have the Yankees in the playoffs this year. I got my predictions to you too late. So
okay, you don't have the Yankees in the playoffs, or yeah. Go ahead.
No, I had Boston and Toronto actually. I like Toronto for a bounce back, just like we were talking about. Just what the hell? Why not?
Wow. Okay.
All right, yeah. Who knows? They got Scherzer now. They got Santander. Vlad Guerrero comes back, has a monster year, trying to get that payday if he doesn't get signed here in the next 3 days.
I like it.
Bo Bichette is alive again.
come
Yeah.
back.
Who knows? But yeah, I just said I had Gunnar Henderson as my MVP and Kyle Tucker. Just trying to think of some names maybe that aren't as common. Cole Reagans and Dylan Cease as my Cy Youngs. And my rookies of the year, I always pick the lamest, most boring rookies of the year. I got Matt Shaw and Will Warren.
Ooh,
That's not bad.
I thought I was obscure with Jacob Wilson.
I thought my Cam Smith one was a little too,
I think my Bryce Miller for Cy Young probably wasn't a popular one.
No, I like that. I like that. I was thinking like somebody on Seattle, right? And then Kirby's hurt, I think. I was like,
yeah.
Gilbert.
Well, I was telling Roger when I sent it over, I was like, I don't know. Bryce Miller might be a crazy one. I've always thought Bryce Miller will win a Cy Young. So if it's not this year, I'm going to guess him again next year.
Sounds good to me.
Nice.
Yeah. By the way, Andrew, yes, it is accurate. The Marlins can't trade Alcantara because it would be fine for too low of a payroll.
Oh my God.
That is pretty. Yeah. So
That's
I
why
understand.
I stopped watching when we lost 2 out of 3 to them last year. I said I was going to take a break, and then I saw we were beating the Diamondbacks 14 to something, and I was like, okay, I'll watch.
Marlins, yeah,
You
just
stuck back in, yeah.
yeah. So there's a bad watch, but no. And again, yeah, it's the Stan was saying that there was 3 teams in New York. Yeah, and the population was bigger then, and all that,
Yep.
and everything's expanded since then. But thanks so much for listening. We are going to have we'll be talking Twins prospects on Sunday. We're gonna have a Locked On Twins co-host Chris. I didn't tell you about that yet because I just booked it earlier. So, but we'll be doing a Tigers minor league season preview at some point too, as well, with Brandon Day, as well as you can check out our White Sox stuff. That's we talked to those guys. Please consider signing up for our Patreon. I know the last couple of days I have not put anything up, but their scouting reports will be going up there the next couple of days. It's just been one thing after another during the J job, to the point where usually I text Chris like 4 or 5 times in the morning, and I haven't even texted him at all, which is unusual. But yeah, it's been madness. We're trying to launch a website at my day job, and it's been doing A/B and testing all day, where you're literally sitting in front of a computer. This is why I'm wearing my glasses right now, because I've had a headache just literally staring at the screen. So if I have to bust out the glasses, I'm just like, yeah. But thanks so much for everybody who's donated too. We had a couple of donations last week. Thank you so much. Our GoFundMe's out there. Ashley will be on hand next week in Toledo, which again, I'm telling her on the fly on that. But she'll be there for opening day. Yes, Kevin. Well, yes, we'll be doing things for opening day. Chris and I will be out on opening day in Detroit. Both of us.
I'll be there.
You'll be there. Okay, so Ashley will be there too. So Mike
I'll
will be there.
I'll be there with my mom.
You'll be there with your mom. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be doing we're trying to do a meetup at some point at opening day. I know I talked to Nick Splain. He doesn't. Nick has. I'm not trying. He invited us, all of us actually, technically, to go by his tailgate. So yes, we'll be doing some stuff for that, but as it comes. But so next week in Toledo, Ashley will be out in Toledo on Friday, and then Saturday I'll be out in Toledo for the day after. For the Mud Hens home opener is on Friday, and then the following so opening day, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm going to be in Erie for that opening weekend. So
Nice.
And then one of us at some point, Chris might be in West Michigan, who knows? But we'll be covering it all. So thanks to your donations and everybody that's helped out. That's I like when Ninja did. The ball is in your court, Yoop.
Yes.
He'll
I'll be interested to see the Tigers later this year.
And you usually make a trip to Iowa Cubs to see the Mud Hens, right?
Oh yeah, I always see. Well, and this year kind of screwed. They're only coming once to Iowa, and it's the last series of the year.
Oh
they
wow.
won't be here till September. I can't believe
Lame.
that.
Yeah,
Really-
we were talking
Now-
about that yesterday too. That they don't even play Charlotte that much either.
Yeah, they got Charlotte coming up once this year. Now, it's always interesting AAA at the end of the season. You're either going to get a roster of nobodies, or you're going to get like 2 weeks of Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal in AAA.
It could be great. There's no
Yeah.
question. A couple of years ago, that was one of the best lineups ever. They had Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson and Carpenter and a couple other guys. It was
I think they still had Daz Cameron and Cody Clemens and all those guys down there. They were
and they won a game like 21-3 or something.
Yeah.
They hit about 12 home
Yeah.
runs.
yeah, it was fun.
Crazy times. But we'll be back. Yeah, like I said, there'll be a couple extra stuff come out this weekend on Tiger Minor Report. Until then, stay classy, everybody. Have a good night.